watch it afterwards too. So, um, all right, everybody. I'm super excited about today's live Dynamite event. We've got Joel Lalgee on the line today. He's going to be sharing some crazy concepts on how to become a better icon in your space, how to really develop a brand and actually use that brand to become somebody that's worth talking to in a way, right? And at the end of the day, we're all trying to get new business, and one of the big things that I talk to you guys about is making sure that when you're going out there and get a new business, you're talking to your specific targeted audience and developing that audience and growing that, so that way it's not just all cold outreach all the time. You can start really building lead generation through a social media presence and creating content. Joel himself has really taken on the effort and done a lot of this stuff kind of out of some of it looks like it's been done through some training and some trial and experimentation. But what I love about Joel is he's really trying to better our recruiting space and show how he's done it in the most dynamic way possible through his LinkedIn presence. He's already amassed over 400,000 followers across multiple platforms, including TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter. I mean, the man has really something special to offer the recruiting space, and he's now trying to show people how to do that and really bolster himself as the recruiter, the content recruiter. So I want to thank Joel for jumping on, but I also want to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Better Leap, for sponsoring this live Dynamite event. If it wasn't for them, we couldn't offer these things for free. So if you're in renewal time and you're looking to have 1 billion searchable profiles with unlimited contact enrichment and an entire suite for candidate outreach, all for $200, guys. Check them out. Use my code at betterleap.com/Will McGee. But Joel, thanks for jumping on, man. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are.
Yeah. Well, look, that was a fine introduction into what I do. But yeah, I've been in recruitment since 2015, mainly on the agency side, and I've really bounced between working uh, several different agencies, like retained agency and RPO, and then I've also bounced in between doing like training and coaching. And so, about 6 months ago, because we all know how the market is, I was sitting in a business development role, so I was just fully doing sales with the agency. I was a part of an agency called Hirewell that's based in Chicago, and honestly, it's just like all. My job was mainly commission based, so I'm sure anyone who's out there for themselves can understand that. But if you've been in an agency, you know how it is in agency, and it just wasn't a lot of business to be won. And I came to a point where I went, you know what, I think I could probably make more money now, leveraging my brand, and doing, like you said, like training and working with companies and helping one-on-one with people to help them develop a strategy for social media that actually works. So the last 6 months I have been building what I would consider like a media training company.
Yeah.
I'm working with internal recruitment teams mainly on how can they, as a team, as a collective, start to put out better content, and how to approach social media in a strategic way. So that's probably a third of what I'm doing. The other third is working with HR and TA brands and helping them get more reach on social media. So doing some more of that like influencer marketing type stuff.
Yeah.
And then a third of the business is still sending over deals to Hirewell, and we still got a good relationship. So that is
Yeah.
me in a nutshell. Outside of that, I got two kids, one on the way in about 8 weeks. So we're going to be outnumbered here in the Lalgee house. But yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, man, and congrats on the third one on the way. We have a 2.5-year-old right now. It's a lot of fun, being a dad and enjoying your time, especially as a recruiter. I mean, at the end of the day, being a recruiter, I think one of the best things that's about it is that it does offer some of that flexibility. I think a lot of people complain about the job a lot, and it's like, what do we have to complain about? Like, you sit in front of a desk, you talk to people every day, you help them better their lives, and if you take that approach, it's kind of like a really rewarding job. But on top of that, like, I mean, the flexibility we have is phenomenal. So like you can literally do this job anywhere, as long as you're pretty skilled at what you do. So But
Yeah.
congrats, man. And
Thank you.
are you guys in the midst of preparing for like the rooms and stuff like that right now? What's kind of the situation for you guys?
Yeah, we got the. So we moved into this house about a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
locked in before the mortgage rates started going up. But yeah, we got a room that we got ready, so we painted it. We got all the baby stuff in there. So you know,
You,
diapers. If you guys have diapers, like I take diapers.
I'm sending them your way. I have to send Ben Mena actually some new
Oh
some
yeah, he just
he
had
just
his
had his
baby.
kid, right? So
Yeah.
super excited for him. Yeah, no, when we get our second, when we had our first, at least we had all of our all of our cribs, like our transportation cribs inside the office, and it was just like you had to have it here. So I'm sure the realist recruiter room and your sick setup's gonna get some like really cool baby stuff in there too pretty soon. It's just gonna be behind camera, I'm sure.
Yeah, be way in the corner.
So so I'm excited to chat with you because at the end of the day, look, you've accomplished some pretty cool stuff. Having 100,000 followers on LinkedIn is not an easy thing to do. Like I just broke 15 last week, and I was so excited about it. I was like, yeah, like we're finally there, and it's super targeted. So like for us, and for me, I've always been focused on like making sure that whoever I'm growing in my network is a very targeted network. I want to make sure that I'm expanding the right way. So in doing that, like when you built out your LinkedIn brand, and even when you built out your TikTok brand, because like you have a massive following on TikTok, that's like something like 100,000 followers on there as well, right? So, or even
Yeah,
more.
it's like 180,000, I think.
That's insane. Yeah. So and like massive view counts, and like you do these
Mm.
funny videos. You're really like candidate focused, especially. I think that's what kind of comes from it. But what got you on the journey? Like what put you on the path to say, hey, like social media is
Yeah.
the next place to go and where we wanted to go?
Look, one of the things when I jumped into recruiting that they would always tell you is like go where the candidates are, right?
Hmm.
Um, and the agency that I was at, the first agency I was at, I've been there for about 4 years, and I was actually specialized in construction recruiting, and I think I just got really sick of like completely cold outreach and just
Mm,
people like reaching out and people not knowing who I was, and so you know how it is when you're on LinkedIn Recruiter a lot, and then you kind of have your downtime, and you go to the news feed. Every now and again, maybe you spend 5-10 minutes scrolling. I started seeing like it's just 2019, so maybe 6 months before COVID times. It was like September 2019, and I started just seeing a lot of people creating videos, and they're just like, yeah, if you create content, if you produce content, then you can get people. People will know who you are, and they'll reach out to you. And
yeah.
at that time at the agency that I was at, it was like we were doing content kind of, and they'd ask us to do blogs, and I was like, this is getting in the way of my real job. So you want me to volunteer to do a blog? I'm not really up for that. But it was like no one was really doing anything on LinkedIn. And so I was like, oh, and I started looking at the content on LinkedIn, and to be honest with you, I was just like, this is just swill, like, and swill is
Yeah.
just means it's just crap, right? It's just really
Yeah.
bad. And I was like, there's a lot of this like broetry writing, which is like where you write with really short lines, and it's just like like emotional stories. I was like, I bet I could do the same thing, and so I just started from that point. And look, my content when I first started out was bad. Like I don't know another way to put it. Like it was just bad content because that's what I saw everybody else doing, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I can just do this bad content. And honestly, but I enjoyed it, and this is a big key. Is like I enjoyed doing the content. Okay, and I knew, and I had in my mind, if I kept doing this, eventually something would happen because people were talking about it, and I didn't really know what
Yeah.
the timeline was. I didn't really have a strategy. I just enjoyed it, and I was on LinkedIn most of the day anyway. Obviously, on LinkedIn Recruiter, I was like, this, I could do this. And it didn't take a lot of time, and I just realized that I could come up with lots of ideas. And another guy I worked with, I remember he started doing the same thing. He's like, "Oh, Joel's doing this thing. I'm gonna start doing it again." And he got like a week in. I remember him just coming up to me and being like, "Dude, how do you just keep up coming up with stuff?" And I'm like, "I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm just like, I'm good at this, right?" And what I realized was like, and this is, I think, an important part of like anybody's journey in business is like, dude, there are a million different ways you want to generate business. Okay,
Yep.
You want to find some business, go call on Craigslist and go find people who are posting jobs on Craigslist and call up the owner of the business and say, hey, I'll help you out with that. That's a way you can get business. You can go to industry events. You can meet people on an airplane, right? There's a million different ways to develop business. I just quickly realized, well, it wasn't quickly. It was after 4 years, I was like, I
Yeah,
don't really want to do cold calling.
don't tell them it's quick, because it's not something that's quick.
No,
It's
no,
one of those
I'm
things.
saying after 4 years of doing cold calling,
Yeah.
I realized like I didn't really enjoy cold calling. And I know
Yeah.
there are some people out there who love cold calling. And I go,
Yeah.
and they hate writing. I go, hey, if cold calling's working for you, you're making money,
Do
keep
it.
doing it. I could care less. I just went, for me, if I could create income streams, if I could create money and leads without ever having to do cold calling again, I'll take that option.
Yeah.
That's the option I took.
I just got off the phone with actually John Brooks, and thanks Ben Mena again for connecting me and John, because John's awesome. We were just discussing like the fact that if I can't do something that I'm enjoying on a consistent basis, or if I'm not having fun with something, then like why do it? And so that's a big transition that's happened to me in my like mid 30s, and especially now having a kid and a family, and like really being conscious of my time. We spend what shit 9 to 16 hours depending on the day, working on our job, and especially as recruiters, you're taking calls at all times, right? So it's like, if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to do that, I better be doing something fun, and I just try to have fun with everything I do, and I completely get that vibe too. That's actually, so when we started A Talent was around the time that you, in 2019, you were just kind of following your content journey. My wife was like starting to begin her content journey, and we started kind of seeing this like similar things, like let's get to where our clients and our candidates are, and like really start to focus on them. And A Talent kind of spawned from that, and the differentiation for A Talent was always that we were going to take a digital approach to recruiting, and that meant creating content and helping the brands that we worked with create better job descriptions and how they outreach, and just having a more digital function, a holistic view. And content was like a pillar of that. And so if you look back at like 2019 or 2020, when we officially launched in February, which was great timing for we were just fantastic at timing, and it like right before the pandemic hit, like Christina was putting out like similar TikTok like videos about our job postings, like, and they started getting, a lot of traction. And it was one of our big differentiators. We picked up clients because of it. Candidates loved what we were talking about. And that's kind of where we started to build our brand. And then when COVID hit, all of that kind of hit the fan. So we started hitting like the podcast and like more webinar type stuff. So, I really appreciate that. I think that's, the right way to look at it. So, if you're looking at, a recruiter, especially an agency recruiter. So the majority of our audience is going to be agency recruiters, people who, are lifestyle recruiters, like we call them. Like I call it lifestyle recruiter because it can be somebody who's, independent, or, maybe works at an agency that gives them a ton of flexibility.
Yeah.
And then business owners, right? So we have also in this group, we have some large agency owners too. So, if they're looking at content and where they're trying to go, if you could look back at what you're currently doing and the things you did with HireWell too, because you built out, if I'm correct, like you had some strategy, application to HireWell's content strategy, which is really impressive as well. So what would you say to them?
Okay, let me just make sure I got the question. You're saying like
Yeah,
what advice would I give someone if they were
they're just
just like
starting out.
starting out?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think I mean you kind of alluded to it. There's no quick and easy like silver bullet when it comes to content, and so it's like anything. Whether you're doing cold calling, you're doing cold email, any type of business development, there's no just quick way, right? Like you might get some quick wins along the way, but it takes time, and it takes time to get good. So, um, number one, what I think most people need, where most people need to start out with, is just starting to engage with the platforms they're on.
That's it.
So,
Yeah.
if you're on LinkedIn, I don't necessarily think that you should just start posting, 3 to 5 times a week. I don't think that
That's
would
right.
hurt necessarily, but I think you're better to just start engaging and start learning the platform. And if I go back to where like my story started, it was like I was starting to kind of do that. Like I was starting to like read with the content that was out there and
Yeah.
engage with it and get a feel for like, well, what do people like? What do people do? And to be honest with you, same with TikTok. Like I've been on TikTok since 2019, way
Oh, yeah.
before most people even knew it was a thing. And it's because I heard two influencers from LinkedIn. I met up with them in Milwaukee, and they were talking about this TikTok thing. And at that time, it really was kids. But I remember before I started creating content on it, I just was consuming it and like trying to understand it and seeing like, well, what is trending? What's a trending sound? Like,
Hmm.
how do people react on it? Like, what are some of the common threads with videos that get a lot of likes, and what about videos that don't get a lot of likes?
Yep.
And so you start to consume and you start to engage with whatever platform you're on first. And then the second piece is you've got to really understand what type of content is going to go viral and what type of content is going to get you a lot of views, and then what type of content is going to convert. And they're typically two different things. Okay. And I put out, even on LinkedIn, I put out probably 2 to 3 thousand pieces of content over the last 4 years. And last year alone on TikTok, I put 2,500 videos out. Okay, so
Hmm.
I've created a lot of content, and one of the things I realized is you get a lot of views and you can go viral. There's a strategy for that, and it can help create awareness, which isn't a bad thing. But then there's types of content that you can put out that signal to the market, I'm successful, I'm working with good clients, I'm somebody you want to work with. And if you know the difference between the two, it helps a lot psychologically, and it helps you understand that not every single post is designed to go viral and get lots
That's
of
it.
likes and
Yeah.
views. Some posts are designed to really create demand for whatever it is that you do. And so you might have a piece of content that gets 500,000 views, produces zero leads, creates a lot of awareness, which you could convert into some business if you have a strategy for that. But then there's other pieces of content that might not get any view. It might get 10,000 impressions or
Yeah.
5,000, but you get 2 emails at the end of the day from people going, I'm interested in what you're doing. I think you could help me. And so if you understand what each piece of content is designed to do, that helps a lot. And so I think one way to do that is to invest it in some training. I think
Yeah.
can be a helpful thing. Another way is to just, again, research and like research other content creators, see what they're doing, and like look at people and see what they're doing and start to put together a strategy.
I think you bring up a great point because this is one of the things that we coach on. If you're part of my more one-on-one coaching, and even if I'm launching our free course that's coming out too, and that's going to have a little bit of touch on this as well. But that's a big part is that engagement piece is big part of what I think people get wrong when they come out of the gates and they're just trying to create content for whoever they think that they're trying to create content. They come at it in a perspective of I need to get business and
Right.
I need to go out there and talk about what the problem is with hiring. And it's like you got to realize what your audience is actually focusing on right now. And if you are very targeted, the best thing you can actually do is not talk about talent acquisition at all. Like the best thing you could probably do is actually just talk about the problems and the pains and the make fun of. And I think you do a fantastic job of this in the recruiting space. And I think that's why in the recruiting world, you've kind of grown so fast. If I'm going to take my perspective, and even with your candidates, right? So on the candidate side, you probably grew really quickly on this side too, because you're talking to them about their issues and their problems and the things that they're
Right.
dealing with. And it's like, and it's funny. And you're kind of bringing like, you're poking fun at, common industry standards and specifically in the recruiting world. And that's why the Realist Recruiter has, like, if you go look, you guys, take a look at the Realist Recruiter's LinkedIn page. And I've been following along from the moment you opened it up because you've been somebody I've been like trying to like analyze and see like, oh wow, like this is actually happening for him. It's really cool to see it go viral so quickly. And he went from, and correct me if I'm wrong, like you went from like a few hundred followers when you started in like 6 months ago. You started the Realist Recruiter, the page, and now it's
Yeah.
over 16,000 people who, if you're a recruiting agency or a recruiting company or recruiting specific platform, it's very unheard of, right? It's not a lot of people that actually can go and like really create that kind of virality for their public page that quickly. And I think what you did really well is just like you talk to the pain and you talk to the problems of like the everyday recruiter, and so people love it. And for you guys, that's like if you're in accounting, poke fun at what's going on in accounting. The what is there's like the content creator on LinkedIn, the sales guru guy or the sales tech sales guy, I forget his name.
Corporate bro.
The corporate bro. Oh man, I love him
Corp.
so much. As
I
soon
know.
if corporate bro wanted to turn his platform into a recruiting company, he
Well,
could do it
yes,
instantaneous.
he's
Oh, he
done it.
has.
Yeah,
There you go.
Bravado. That's what they do. It's partnered with Bravado, and they do. They're like a tech sales platform. So he's
Done.
basically a partner in that company. Yeah.
Done. Like, and so that's the reality, right? You're not going after stuff that's like, hey, I'm a recruiter, you should work with me, the 10 steps to getting a better job. Like everyone's doing that. So just talk to the pains. So, when you're looking at your strategy and product or kind of this community or content led growth,
Yeah.
what skill sets, like what are the skill sets you had to develop as a content creator to really like take it to the next level?
Yeah. Look, I think being a better writer is the number one thing. So if you guys follow, there's a guy. If you don't follow him, you need to be following him. His name's Joe Mullings. Okay, founder of the
Joe's
Mullings
awesome.
Group. Okay, the
Yep.
guy is like the OG. All
Yep.
right, like his studio is worth more than most people build a whole recruiting career. Okay, but where I'm going with this is one of the things that, and I've had him on my podcast a number of times, and we've connected. Great, like super great guy. And one of the things that he does is he gets people at his agency to create content, right? Because it's a big piece of how he grows the business. And but he will not let them get on video until they've mastered writing.
Writing. Yep.
So
I
you got
love
to be a
that.
good writer. And look, being a good writer, it will help you on social media. It will help you with your sales emails. It will help you with your in-mails. It's going to help you in general. So mastering writing is the first thing. And there's multiple ways to do that. I recommend getting on Twitter, okay, or X, whatever you want to call it. X is the perfect breeding ground to become a better writer because you're limited. Well, they have longer,
Yeah.
tweets now, but getting good at headlines, like and understanding like how to write something that's to the point without a lot of fluff, and getting good at creating hooks. Like writing is the first and foremost, because then if you can write, then you can start to articulate whatever you've written into video. And I think video needs to be the goal. Like a lot of people default to writing on LinkedIn, and like I said, writing is really important because writing a good script will help you do good on video.
Yep.
But really, the goal is you want to get to like, hey, I'm doing a lot of video, and so master that writing first, and then I'll help you with your scripts on video. I'm from that point. It's practice. Like you have to just practice and practice and practice. Again, if you look at some of my original videos, even from like a year ago on TikTok, not that you would go that far back, but like let's say if you went on my page and you look at some of the early videos, and then you look at how I'm communicating now, there's a world of difference. The difference is I have 2,000 videos under my belt now, and I've done it 2,000 times. I know how to hook people. I know how to hook and introduce and build credibility, and I'm better at communicating. And so then what that sets up is I'm better in my sales meetings.
Yep.
I get into a sales meeting with a prospect. It's very easy for me to sell because I'm good at communicating and I know my value, right? So it all ties together. Get better at writing, get better at video, and then that ties in all areas of your business as well.
Notice what he's not saying, guys. Get better at ChatGPT. Like, I think ChatGPT is a good kind of thing that you can use. It's always a great tool, but if you get good at writing and understand like what exactly you're trying to say and condense things properly, it is the challenge of a lifetime. I think Mark Twain put it best. If I would have written you a shorter letter if I had more time, right? And it's like at first it takes time to get really good at just creating those hooks and being able to be like very concise and simplified. I suck at it all the time. Like, I mean, like if you listen to any of my interviews, I'm pretty verbose. And one of the big things that I have a problem with is trying to condense it down. So, I completely agree with you. I think that's a fantastic piece of advice. And if you guys need resources on that, Masterclass, I love Masterclass. It's like one of my favorite apps out there. Go do a masterclass on writing. Go do a masterclass if you need negotiation tactics. Go do a do Chris Voss's negotiation. It's like fantastic. But those writing schools and writing, the writing skill is 1000% being good at storytelling. Like, not just, hey, like I created these results, but like people don't really care about the results you had. They want to go along with the journey.
Yeah.
I love this saying that the goal, the journey is the sweetest right before the goal. And I think that is so true. Once you hit your accomplishment, it actually it's that payoff that like, oh, it's a final relief. But right before you get there is always, it's the climax of the story. It's the exciting part. It's the conflict getting there. And so like, get good at like just being able to describe that in like really easy ways, and you can start creating like really great storylines and create great content.
100%.
So when was the writing aspect the part of your process that kind of was like your aha moment when everything switched for you, or was there something else that like kind of changed your perspective on things?
Yeah, I mean, originally I think I just did enjoy the writing piece, and I still like even when I started on LinkedIn 2019, I would do a video a week, okay, and because a video is actually I was a lot more uncomfortable with, and I had to thought that writing was great because it's easier to do, not easier to master, but it's easier to do initially, and it requires less tools, and it's a written piece of work, right? Anyone could type, and then I enjoyed it as well, so that helped out. But I think really the needle dropped for me about a year in, to be honest with you, and that's when I just started. I mean, I had a similar journey to you in some ways. It's like I left that agency I'd been at for 5 years. I left that agency and I started a new agency March 2020. So I remember like getting on my new desk. I was like so excited. I'm gonna do construction, and it was like, what is going on? Like there's like they got CNN on in the background or whatever, the news on in the background.
Yeah.
And it's like there's this pandemic, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, I've made the worst mistake of my life. And so to be honest with you, I don't think I've really been in like a recruiting seat and niche long enough to really capitalize the full benefits of building a brand. But even so, I quickly pivoted I went from general construction into like working with subcontractors. So I was like, all right, these GCs, these new buildings were all getting put on hold because of COVID and all this crazy stuff. But these subcontractors, drywall contractors, they already had a book of business at the agency I was working at. So they already had a bunch of data points. So I was like, I'll just jump on this. And I remember really clearly about 2 months into into having that desk, I just started connecting with all these drywall like leaders and people who own drywall companies. I got a message from a lady, and she's just like, "Hey, I seen your content, and I own a drywall company. I know you do drywall recruiting. Like, would love to set up a business meeting." And I like closed the client that day type thing, and it was like the easiest intake call. And then I started sending her candidates, and everything was easy because it was like she wanted to work with me. And I think from that point on, I was like, oh yeah, like this it works. And that was the point where I was like, okay, this genuinely works. And now, I mean, look, I started this business 6 months ago, and I mean, every day I'm getting 3 to 4 leads just on my calendar because I got a booking link on my LinkedIn page.
Yep.
And so now it's like it's just auto. It's like I pick the meetings I want to take. I got better at sales, and so now it's like if I get 10 meetings a week, I know I only got to close 2 or 3 of those a week, and I'm killing it. And so that was really the moment that everything kind of clicked. And then from that point, anything with marketing and content, you've got to test. You got to do kind of test, change, and see what works, right? And I think that's what I've gotten good at, over the years. And then working with Hirewell was really, really powerful because at Hirewell, James, who is the CRO of there, James Hornick. If you guys follow him on LinkedIn,
Follow him. He's so awesome to
yeah,
follow.
I mean his content's more thought leadership,
Yeah.
and look, I couldn't position myself. It's hard to position yourself with 5 years of recruiting as like a thought leader. Like no one's gonna think I'm Joe Mullings, so I'm gonna look stupid if I go that direction.
Yeah.
But James, he's been in recruiting for 20 years, so he's known. He's got great content, really, really great. But one of the things that at Hirewell that they do is they've got 50 other recruiters that are posting content daily, and everyone's engaging with each other. And so that's why their LinkedIn page has got 100,000 followers. That's why they generate millions of dollars of business through the website that's attributed to social media because people are finding them on LinkedIn. So all of those moments just confirm. And at this point, it's kind of I hate to put it this way, but when people ask the question, well, what's the ROI of content? I honestly am just like I start to they lose credibility with me because
Yep.
I'm just like, what are you talking like what do you mean, like what's the ROI with it? ROI is people know you and then they want to work with you. And so at this point now when I hear that, it again, like I want to be like kind because I get where like it can seem too good to be true, but at the same time I'm like, look, go into any coffee shop, everyone's on their cell phones. Go anywhere, everyone's on their cell phones. This is where, going back to recruiting 101, you want to be where your candidates are. They
Yep.
are on social media, right?
Yeah.
So,
Especially now, because like I mean, if you really look at like the audience of your candidates in a candidate perspective, and even leadership, right? Who's now in the leadership seat, or who's coming into the leadership seat? It's millennials. It's us, right? And Gen Z's coming in too. Absolutely,
hey, my
but
grandma watches YouTube religiously.
I mean, but absolutely, yeah, no, I'm not saying that like the boomer situation is not on the YouTubes and they're not on the Facebooks, but really the vast majority of corporate structures now are basically ran by Gen X, Millennial, and Gen Z. Like that is
Right.
the that is the composition of any company now, and so if you're looking to like really create a brand, and you really want to go out there and perform for your clients and pick up leads a lot easier, like it's just so simple. Like everybody, I think it's like the study was 87% of people are on 87% of millennials have some sort of social media account, and or they're using social media or YouTube or whatever it is. Just find out where they're going to be and then go for it. And I think you'll uncover a lot more. On top of that, you'll get, and to Joel's point, and you go out and engage and like look at content that's being produced for your audience and for the people that are going to consume what you want to write about. You start to pick up some new tactics and new understanding of like one of what to do or how to do it. That's one part, but the second part is you actually get to understand them more. You get to see like some of the comments that they're having, the questions they have, the issues that they're dealing with, like the things that they hate, the things that they love, and like those are the things that you want to just kind of galvanize and start to pick up on. And then you'll start to learn what to write about, and you'll start to learn about what to create content around. And I think that's such a big part of what we did at Recruiting with Dynamite and with A Talent. And one of the strategies that we implemented with all of our clients, especially if they wanted to take on a social media presence or something like that, we'd be like, okay, well, let's understand your candidate pools, which leads me to my next point, Joel, before we get into our lesson, because I want to get in there, is when you're looking at your content, the question I keep coming up against is, who do I write content for? Do I write content for my clients, or do I write content for my candidates? And what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that probably I would guess they would be somewhat similar at times. I mean, I think you speak to both, right? And there's ways to speak to both, and just again understanding. For example, like an open job post, right? If you talk about an open job, okay, you're speaking to candidates and clients or prospects, because what you're saying is hey, obviously, if someone applies to your job and you post about it, great.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also signaling to the market, these are the types of jobs that I'm working on, right? So if you understand that, like what you're saying is, hey, we have this open job, and then your client or a prospect goes, wow, you're working on that type of job. We have that same opening. Maybe you can
Yeah.
help us, right? So I think you can split both, but I also think like if in the industry, you want to speak more to the industry, right? So if you share let's say you're working with I don't know, tech startups, fintech startups. Okay, that's
Yeah.
who your target market is.
Yeah.
All right, then pay attention to what's going on in the fintech market and start sharing articles around whatever's going to impact their businesses. That's going to be both relevant to clients and candidates. And then what you do is you put your point of view from a recruitment perspective of what you're seeing. You
There you
state an
go.
opinion. You ask a question. So I don't think you really need to like worry that much about it. And again, like inbound is definitely an amazing place to be. Okay, like getting inbound is great, but until that point, what you're doing is you're just creating awareness of your name. So when you
That's
reach
it.
out to people, they know who you are. And like I reach out to VPs of talent and chief people officers at lots of companies that are big companies, and this is part of my strategy. They know who I am because all of their recruiters share my content.
Yeah.
So again, when you understand how LinkedIn works, sometimes you got to get a little bit more creative and think, okay, who are the people that are going to be connected to the people I'm wanting to reach? How can I get them to engage, right? And so your candidates, even, they're going to be connected to hiring managers still.
Bingo.
So this is where it's like, it's not just about getting it's not just about getting a comment from somebody. It's who are they connected with, because their network will see it as well. And again, looking at engagement is the easiest way to create awareness because you literally could choose where you engage. And if you have your profile set up right and it can convert, then you can start to engage with people as well. And so maybe it's engaging on candidates and clients and you kind of mix it up. I would say like the bigger challenge is obviously getting clients. You know, I think that especially in this business climate, my guess is not too many people have a struggle getting candidates interested in things right now. It is more
Depending
clients.
on the industry. Yeah, I mean, in accounting right now, it's the opposite, right? Getting a good CPA or solid accountant, and it's really difficult to get those candidates, and it's really
Right.
easy to get those clients. So just
Okay,
depends.
well, whatever. Okay, whichever one is harder, that's probably who you want to focus on the content on, right? Like, so
For
if you're
sure.
like, hey, I don't have a problem getting candidates, I don't have a problem getting clients, and I really have a problem getting candidates, then that's who you focus on, right? So
Sure.
wherever the need is, that's where you're going to use content. And I think the important thing, the big switch I think people need to make in their mind is this is business development. Like if you can start to think
Yes.
of engaging on social media as business development, it adds legitimacy to it. And
And
look, I train lots of people on this, and they this is a big thing. They drop the ball on it because they haven't made that switch in their mind. They don't view a comment on social media the same way they do a voicemail on a cold call.
that's a big point. And one of the things I just want to quickly add to that before we get into like your step by step is, at the end of the day, don't be a weirdo, if you will, when you're engaging with people too. Like I don't know if anybody's in the dating scene right now on the call, but like you don't go up to somebody at the coffee shop and go, "Hey, what kind of coffee are you getting? Do you want to go on a date with me right away?" And it's like that's just not how the conversation goes. So just don't be a weirdo when you're going into the engagement. Be a human. Hey, what kind of coffee do you like? Like what's going on here? And tell me a little bit about like what you're doing today or whatever it is, and then have a conversation and then go into it. And you're not going to convert everybody. That's not the point of social media. It's not an inbound. It's not just inbound. Or inbound's kind of a byproduct of it, but you really just are
Exactly.
looking for, like you said, like to create that warm environment. So when you do reach out, it's not like, oh, well, who the hell are you? It's, oh, I know that guy, like cool, like thanks for reaching out, and you get such a better response rate. So I love that. So Joel, let's go into it. Let's talk about the lesson for today. What's the step-by-step plan that people can, go through right now, maybe do today or, this week coming up? What could they do right now to get better at becoming an icon?
Yeah, look, I start all the time with the engagement. So we're gonna look at LinkedIn because that's the platform I'm assuming most people are finding candidates. If you're not, that's okay. LinkedIn's still valuable. Okay, so I have the strategy around like connecting with 20 people a day, and it's just again, this is something that people They say they get it, but I know they're not doing it. All right, because if you'd been connecting with 20 people, your network would be a lot bigger, right? Because if you connect with people, they become a follower of yours as well. So, good way to just build up the network is to max out those connections. So, find those prospects. What are their job titles? What companies are they at? And literally put it on your calendar in the morning. I'm going to connect with 20 people a day. The next thing is to just engage with your current network. Okay. Now, what I mean by this too, and I've been talking about this a lot, too many recruiters right now are in this big recruiter orgy where it's just like, and I'm happy with it because they all engage with my content. I'm not complaining necessarily, but like, I'm trying to reach recruiters. I don't know why other recruiters are all in this big recruiter thing, like this echo chamber of recruiters. It's benefiting me. I'm not going to complain too much, but
It's benefiting me too.
if your target is not recruiters, other recruiters, they should not be the main people you're engaging with. Engage with your prospects, with your candidates. Okay, so as you're connecting with people, just go through your newsfeed organically and spend 5 to 10 minutes commenting on their, like, consume that content, comment, leave thoughtful comments. And then the next phase, obviously, is to start creating that content, right? And I'm aiming for 3 to 5 times a week. You need to be minimum. And this is because people like me who have way bigger followings are doing that. I'm creating 10 pieces of content a day. Okay, the guy who's on your hat, he's creating like 100 pieces of content a day.
Massive.
Okay, and he has the resources to do that. You're competing against him. You're competing against everybody, right? So 3 to 5 times a day, 3 to 5 times a week, you're posting, and then you're setting up some sort of reminders as people, as they connect with you. You've got a tracking sheet that shows connection, when the date was, and then create content for 2 weeks, and then you're reaching out to them. So that's how you start. So I'm gonna send Will just a cheat sheet that breaks this down. But at the minimum, like where you could start today is you can literally start to just connect with more people, connect with those right people, and start engaging with them. Even if you did that for a month, your profile views would go up. So that is it's just daily activity, being consistent with social media right from the get-go.
If you do 20 a day, 7 days a week, that's a pretty good amount. Even if you just do 20 a day for 5 days a week.
Well, that's the limit. You get 100 requests.
That's right. You get 100 requests. That's right. So 100 requests a week. If you're actually maxing it out, 400 requests a month. Like, that's a pretty solid number, right? Like, you don't need more than, if you need more than 400 actual connections a month, like, you're doing it wrong.
Well, and you get people once you start creating content, people will request to be, and then once you look, if you engage on someone's content and you don't know them and they're a second-degree connection, they'll mostly likely send you a connection request.
I do it every day. Every time somebody engages with my stuff, I connect with them. It's a big thing. Do you need, before I let you go, do you have any tools or anything that you're using that are like really spectacular, or that you would suggest people jumping onto?
Tools that I'm using.
I mean, we got MetaView and Betterly. We love both of those. But as far as social media, like, what would that be?
I mean, look, there's some editing tools, like CapCut's a good editing tool. I mean, I love the native TikTok editing app. I use that for most of the videos that I'm using. Repurpose.io is great. So, I mean, I'm not going to get too much into this, but essentially what I do is I post my videos on TikTok, and then they go to Snapchat Spotlight, they go to YouTube, they go to Facebook, they go to Instagram, they go everywhere. It's $20 a month. And that, just doing that alone has, I think YouTube, I'm like 500,000 views a month from YouTube, 2 million a month on Snapchat, wow. 20,000 a month on Pinterest. I know a lot of times people are like, what's ROI? And I'm like, well, I mean, I spent $20 and zero extra time. So I'm a big cheater. Okay. And what I mean by that is I will take content from other platforms that I've created and put them on, I'll take my TikToks and put them on LinkedIn. Yeah. I'll take my tweets and put them on LinkedIn. I'll take my LinkedIn content and put it on Twitter. I'll take my TikToks and put it on Twitter. I'm all about making content last. So Repurpose.io is a good one. And then if you're looking at like more like professional videos, you want to get into that, I use Descript, and that's super helpful. Really, really good app. It's like $10 a month, but super easy to use. So
I got to check out Descript. I haven't checked that one out yet.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
That's awesome. Well, Joel, Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it in the community. I know a lot of people are going to interact with this and reach out to you. So how would they get in contact with you if they wanted to? I mean, you've already maxed out your LinkedIn. So how would they reach out to you and contact
Yeah,
you?
yeah. So if you just go to my website, therealistrecruiter.com, you could just there's a booking link. You could book right on there. You go to my LinkedIn and just book as well. And then I'm going to send that one pager out, and the one pager will have all the information as well on there as well. It's got my email on there if they want to reach out.
I really appreciate you, Joel. Thank you again for everybody who attended. And if you guys have any questions, looks like we have one coming in. Oh, Christina says, this is awesome. Thanks, Will and Joel. So, yeah. And Mike, bingo, wise words. Joel, engage first, post second. So love it. You guys are awesome. Stay tuned for next week. We've got some really great guests over the next couple of weeks here. Thanksgiving's coming up and the holidays. Don't sit on that and think, shit, like, well, I don't want to do any BD because no one's in town. Go do that BD. Go get that content out. This is the time to do it, and make sure that you're lined up for Q1 next year. This is the time to get Q1 set up. So make sure you're right, and follow along with everything that's in here. And have a great rest of the week, guys. Talk soon.
See you guys.
Dude, thanks.